Hi, my name is Teresa Tarver.
And I am Isaac Tarver.
And this is the Better Together podcast,
where we, with our life
and all of our experiences, show you why two is definitely better than one. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 3 of the Better Together podcast. I'm Teresa Tarver, and I am here with my husband, Isaac.
Yo, how y'all doing, man?
Today we have a great topic. I think it's a great topic. It comes from a question that we were asked when we announced that we would be starting a podcast. And that question is, how do you handle temptation within your marriage? We're so excited to talk to you guys about that today and share our perspectives. But before we get into the topic, we want to just do some housekeeping per usual.
So just wanted to remind you all to like or subscribe to the Better Together podcast on all of your digital media platforms, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. For those of you who are signed up for Anchor, we actually admonish all of you to go and sign up for Anchor because that is our hosting platform, and they, kind of host or hold most of the information for what it is that we do. So if you would go and sign up for Anchor and find us on there, like us, favorite us there, on all of your media platforms, please give us a 5-star rating and leave comments. When you guys leave reviews for our podcast, it gives us the opportunity to know that we are doing something right or doing something wrong. Either way, it gives us the opportunity to interact with you, our viewers. So we're excited about that. Also, if you have any questions or if there's a topic that you would like to hear discussed on the Better Together podcast, you can send those questions, topics to the Better Together podcast at gmail.com. Again, that's the Better Together podcast at gmail.com. Also, if you are married and, you may be going through something in your marriage right now and you're just looking for some other believers to partner with you in prayer, we are 100% open to doing so. You can send those prayer requests to the Better Together podcast at gmail.com. Our promise is that everything that you send to us will be completely anonymous unless you otherwise specify that you're okay with it being read. So we'll, keep all of those things confidential, keep those things between us and God, and go from there. So, to our topic.
So, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'll start. So,
wait, the question.
The question, again, is how do you deal with temptation within a marriage? So I think the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about this question is work relationships that either existed prior to you becoming married, or you getting married and getting a new job, and there's the having to meet new people and things of that nature. So let's just say, truth be told, it's inevitable that you're going to be around somebody else who's attractive. Like, you won't really find another area in the world, unless you're going to stay in the house all day and, just lock your doors. You won't find interaction out in the world and there not be someone somewhere that you're attracted to. And that right there is the thing that breeds possible temptations. You, as a married person, have come into contact with somebody who is your type, or somebody who is, nice or kind or looks nice or whatever may be. And, something in you is like, if this had been any other moment in my life, or if I was not married, this is probably something that I would pursue.
Realistically, if you're a part of the world, you're going to come into contact with humans that you're attracted to, that you may find attractive, what have you. I think that there's a misconception that all attraction is sexual. So I think that kind of what me and Isaac did before we got married is decided that if there were people that we were attracted to for whatever reason, we would talk about it. So it's just, if it's like, I find this person attractive, I don't know what's drawing me to them. I think this person may be purposeful in my life. We talk about it. If it's a guy that I see and I say, hey, I'm attracted to him, and I don't know if this is, what's the source of the attraction? Is it because he's handsome? Is it because he's kind? Is it because, he has this something about him? But we explore those things together and find out what the root of the attraction is and if it's purposeful. So if it's not purposeful, then we kind of deal with whatever it may be in me or in the person that drew me to them. But it's definitely something that we deal with together. And I think that that is the way to deal with temptation in marriage, is together. So it's like, I think that where people go wrong is they find themselves attracted to a person and they're afraid to let their spouse know.
So I set up a whole premise, and then she kind of gave a whole answer to it. But that, pretty much sums up the, long of the short of how to deal with temptation from a male to female attraction perspective. This may be the gym. It may be, that's a fitness center for those of you who don't call it that in other areas around the world. It could be at your church, whatever it may be. There are things about other people that would naturally draw you. And this is important this is important to know, or as a family, as a husband and wife, put parameters around, because it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But you have to have safeguards in place so that when this does occur, it's not something that you're silently in your heart trying to vet alone or trying to deal with. And, you leave it up to your own strength to keep you out of a situation when the truth be told, the best way to deal with temptation is through accountability, no matter what the temptation is. If you're dealing with something that's drawing you, then that shows that there is the fact that it has the ability to draw or to pull on you shows or speaks to the possibility of a weakness in you. And the only way to deal with that weakness is to put strength around it. Make sure that you surround yourself with a system of accountability. I personally believe that the best system of accountability for temptation in a marriage is the marriage itself.
I agree. I think our take on it, I'll say, like the way we approach it. So it's like real life example. So I have a tendency to be attracted or drawn to people that have similar graces as my husband. So if if we meet a person, and consequently, these are people who usually end up being like close to my husband, like tight with him, because they're of the same kindred, and I'm drawn by the kindred spirit. So if somebody has a kindred spirit as my husband, I'll be attracted to them, and it'll be like, okay, what is the basis of my attraction? Why does this person has my attention? And so I let my husband know, say, hey, I feel drawn to, this person. And then we talk about it. We figure out, is this lust? Is this perversion? Is this pure? Is this a person that's supposed to be integrated into our lives? Is that why you're attracted to them? Or are you attracted to them because you having a bad day and you not in your word like you're supposed to be? So now you lusting after this man that reminds you of your husband.
Which brings me to another point that's important to bring out here, and that is that attraction in and of itself is not attraction in and of itself is not a bad thing. Like, attraction is not a thing that's just like, oh my God, I'm married, I should never be attracted to anybody, because attraction is actually a tool that God uses to tie hearts that should be together.
I'll give an example of that. Like your best friend. When you met your best friend, you were attracted to them. So my best friend, right? When I met her, it was something about her that drew me to her. And that draw is what brought us together. In the way that I was drawn to her, she was drawn to me. We had similar backgrounds. We talked and we had commonalities. We found out after we acted on our attraction to each other. We talked and, hung out and found out that we had similar backgrounds, what have you, and we're best friends. So that's how, you can be drawn to a person and it be purposeful.
Or even in that even happens, or it occurs, it does very much so happen in male to female, or female to male relationships. Like we have a daughter, I guess you can term it, we term it spiritual daughter, some people term it mentee, whatever it may be, however you look at it, right? One of the first conversations that Teresa and I had about her was me coming to Teresa to say, hey, there's something in her that I'm drawn to. Obviously was not, any type of any type of a physical attraction, or any type of a, sexual attraction or anything of that nature. It was just that God was using a moment to show me, and at the same time, obviously, as it would be, show my wife that this young lady had some level of a space in our life. And if I had just looked at it immaturely and was like, oh my God, there's some level of attraction here, I have to stay away from this young lady because this could go left, or whatever it may be, we would have dropped the ball on a moment, or dropped the ball with a life that God was setting up for us to be able to pour into.
And I think, too, another example of that, you're drawn to your pastor for whatever reason, be it male, female, the house that you're in. When you met that person, or when you first saw them preach, or what have you, there was something in you that connected to them. That's attraction. And a lot of times we don't term that attraction, but that's what it is. And I think a lot of times that attraction gets perverted because people don't know how to identify attraction and it not be sexual, because we're taught, pop culture teaches attraction, man sees woman, birds and the bees. It's like, that's one aspect of attraction. But I think outside of it's other attraction, it's other reasons to be attracted outside of sexually. So you will, see a man or a woman of God preaching and be like, wow, it's something that's drawn me to them. And then people allow themselves to become infatuated with people that should be leading their souls and not trying to get in their pants.
So all of that to bring things back full circle, within your marriage, when you have the safety of a communication that allows for you to say, hey, there's something that is, drawing me in another person, whether it be, male to male, male to female, whatever it may be. When you have that communication that's set up to where you can say, hey, this is going on, and I'm not sure what it is, but if you could, assist me in, vetting whatever this situation is, or vetting why it is that I have this attraction, or discerning, or, helping me to look through why it is that I have this attraction to this person, I think we would, find that, it's something that we either need to pursue or something that we need to run in the opposite direction of. But yeah, so as a married person, the best thing that you can do is put safeguards around attraction, so that the temptation for a situation to go bad is not there.
Another way to safeguard is to be realistic. Like, being human beings, your husband, no matter how much he love you, I know he only got eyes for you, but unless he's blind, then he sees other women. And women that are beautiful, they're not gonna not be beautiful to him. So if you find yourself in a situation, or women, like, just because you get married, that does not mean that you don't see other men that are handsome. And our eyes, that's how we see. It's how we see and process. So you're not going to see a nice looking guy and be like, oh no, I can't think that he's nice looking because I'm married. That's not realistic. The reality is, as long as you are a human being and have sight, you will see somebody, and you don't even have to have sight to be attracted to somebody. This can be a blind couple, and you will find yourself attracted for one reason or another to another person. And to first know, like, it's a part of human nature. That's okay. The issue becomes when you hide it. When you hide it from yourself, hide it from your spouse, to say, you know what, I'm married. I can't think nobody else is beautiful. Now, I am not down for the whole, oh yeah, I got eyes, I'm gonna look. No. Because that crosses a line of disrespect. But it does not mean that you don't see. So some people have fantasy boyfriends and husbands out here just from a man that they saw. This man was attractive. He looked good. He smelled good. And now, because you won't be able to say, hey, I found him attractive, and that's okay, because that's where it stops at. Because I'm also going to tell my husband, hey, it was this guy who really got my attention. Can you pray? I don't know what's going on, but maybe we should pray into that, because for some reason I saw him at 12 o'clock and it's 4 and his scent is still with me. Or I can't get his, I'm still thinking about this man that I saw, and I don't know what that's about. If you can say, hey, it's not wrong for it to happen, but there is a proper way to handle it, then that would just nip a lot of temptation in the bud, because temptation is only temptation when it's something that you're struggling or dealing with. Once it's out in the open, it's just a point of fact.
So I believe it's safe to say that the best way to deal with temptation overall is with healthy communication. If you have a system in place that allows you to express what you're being tempted by, that allows you to express, hey, I feel like my flesh may be weak towards this certain something. That system has the ability then to protect you from falling to temptation.
We have this mantra in our house: anything that we can talk about, we can deal with. So as long as we can talk about it, as long as we can discuss it, then it's something that can be dealt with and taken head on.
So, for those of us out there who have a hard time, who are having a hard time reining in our sexual desires, the worst thing that you could do is continue to interact with that person or continue to have shared space with that person without having had said that you feel that way to somebody.
And not just any somebody, because there's a difference between telling somebody who just, in it for the tea, and telling somebody who's going to actually hold you accountable to what you said. I think that a lot of people foolishly tell people that can't help them. And so it's like, I said something, I thought that, confessing this to my homegirl, but your homegirl had the same viewpoint that you have. She's not going to be able to help you. So you need to tell somebody who can assist you in what you're dealing with. Somebody that is also struggling with what you're struggling with cannot help you.
So I was just reminded of this scripture. I want to read it. Okay, so I'm going to read, this is NIV version of Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9. And it says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. I think this is my focus point right here. If either of them falls down, one can help the other, but pity on anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. This is where we often lose the battle with temptation. Because we have not set in place someone to keep us from the fall. We've not, set in place somebody who can say, hey, that's a stumbling block for you. Like, it's 100% possible for us to, in my opinion, it's 100% possible for us to have a perfect record with temptation. 100%. Now, I know that may be a stretch or a stretch in the minds of certain people, because we all deal with or a lot of people deal with the nobody's perfect complex, or, I'm not going to not fall, I'm not going to not mess up. There are certain areas in your life where you should be getting consistent victories. As a married man or woman, one of those areas should be your temptation with the opposite sex. You should be getting consistent victories in that area, because as a mature husband and or wife, you realize that you have to put in place what's necessary so that in the moment where weakness could be the response, somebody else's strength steps in to keep you from the fall. You have to be honest enough with yourself to say that this is an area where I'm weak.
And how do you do that? Like, how does one be honest with oneself? I think that the key first thing is you have to humble yourself, because I think that foolishly a lot of us believe, oh, I'm married, I ain't thinking about nobody else. It's like, no, you're not thinking about nobody else until you're thinking about somebody else. And then you find yourself in a space if you can't be like, okay, hey, now that I'm here, how am I feeling? A lot of times we psych ourselves out and to make ourselves believe that we're not dealing with something that we really dealing with. Woman of God, man of God, if this person is appearing in your dreams, it's a thing. If you are thinking about them in your idle time, it's a thing.
If you feel like you have to run from them in your regular, everyday interactions, it's a thing, guys. It's a thing.
So I think you have to be real with yourself and humble yourself to the space where you realize that you're human and subject to error. But just because you're subject to error does not mean that you have to fall into the pit of error. Just because you are able to err does not mean that you have to err.
So this is when a mature friend, this is when a wise friend, a mentor, a counselor, a brother, a sister, your spouse, is somebody who you can call on and say, hey, look, this is where I'm at right now. This situation looks similar and I don't want to fall. You have to have someone in your life that you can trust with that type of information. I believe that a lot of different types of people listen to this podcast. A lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. A lot of different people from a lot of different occupations. And I want to address pastors really quickly. If you're a pastor or a ministry leader, oftentimes those specific positions in life go very, very, very lonely, because you have people who you have to lead, and you find yourself in a space where you don't have anybody who you can be vulnerable with, because you're so used to having to be the one that's strong for weak sheep, if you will, or strong for those who are behind you or watching you in your leadership. Man of God, woman of God, if you don't get someone in your corner, I would honestly say I think your husband and or wife would be preferable, because you see them every day, you're around them every day. Preferably they are mature enough to handle that type of information without feeling like you gonna throw the whole thing away or whatever may be. I want to admonish you to get someone in your corner, whether it's another ministry leader, whether it's another pastor, whether it is your pastor. I do believe that all pastors should be pastored. So if that be the case, you need to have someone in your corner that you can reach to in the moments of your weakness. It's important for the future of your ministry. It's important for your ability to be without scandal. It's important for your ability to keep growing, because God's not going to raise you to a level that he knows you're going to blow it at. So, I admonish you, man and woman of God, to have someone in your corner. I pray that it is the man or woman of God that you've married, that you can go to and say, hey, I'm feeling weak. I'm tempted. And here's a great scenario. Here's a great case in which we see this situation happen. When people tell you the story of Adam and Eve, if you haven't read it for yourself, or if you see it like in a child's book, it seems as if the serpent went and spoke to Eve separate of Adam, but Adam was there for the entire interaction. But because he was not mature enough and he was as weak, he did not step in to say, no, we cannot do this. No, I see that you're weak in this area. Or Eve was not able to go to him and say, hey, this serpent said, and I feel like he's telling the truth. What should I do? Because she realized that her only help, was standing right there with her, just as enticed. So you want to make sure that you have somebody in your corner with the strength to pull you out of the pit, someone in your corner with the maturity to say, hey, don't do that. Someone who knows you enough to be able to even see. Sometimes when you can't say it yourself, somebody who is strong enough to be able to see, or mature enough to be able to see, or knows you enough to be able to see, hey, you weak right now, even if you're not going to say it. That saves the world, and it will save your marriage from falling to the pit of temptation.
Absolutely. We hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode of the Better Together podcast. If you guys have any questions, concerns, want to see how we feel about another topic, please feel free to email us at thebettertogetherpodcast@gmail.com. Babe, why do you love me?
I love you because you have long, beautiful, natural hair. It's all yours, so I don't have to buy it. That type of stuff matters to me. That type of stuff matters to me. Good, beautiful, healthy hair. And I appreciate the fact that you keep it up as well. So that's why I love you. Why do you love me?
I love you because you are funny and you try to find jokes to make me laugh. And I appreciate that because, I'm a twin. So being a twin, I have always had my own personal goofball. Somebody my sister can make me laugh, period. And I feel like you did a good job of keeping up the laughs. So that's why I love you.
Well, this has been another exciting episode of the Better Together podcast with Isaac and
Teresa Tarver,
where we, with our life
and all of our experiences,
show you that two is definitely better than one.